Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Before we begin, I just want to remind you that I now have an Etsy page where you can get personal email readings from me, and the link to that Etsy page is in the description box below. So let's start. So the purpose of this reading is to figure out how can you reach success? So how can you reach success? So we have three sets of cards here. Each one has a Venetian mask on top. So we have 1, 2, 3, and then we have a, so I'll zoom in, we have the first set of cards is a green mask here. The second set of cards is this purple or violet mask. And then the second set of cards, we have this red, ruby red mask. So I'm going to give you 10 seconds to decide between the three sets of cards. Don't think about it too much. Just choose the first mask that resonated with you from the get-go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so if you've made your decision, I'm going to go right ahead and start with the first set of cards here. So the emerald green mask. So let's see, how can group one reach success? So how can group one reach success? Okay, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The 8 of swords, and then we have some Gemini energy, and then we have 4 of cups. So what I'm seeing here is that, so to be honest, you may actually need to, like I see that you may be in a situation, maybe even now or in the future, where you're going to really need to not have like two faces, but with Gemini, I think they have the ability to switch personalities, kind of. Not like a crazy person or like a sociopath, not like that, but you know, just like but depending on the occasion that you're in or the group of people that you're around, almost like a chameleon, where you can just use this ability to adapt depending on the situation. So for instance, when you're in a group where there's a lot of really like formal, reserved people, then you would kind of switch modes and become more like that. Or there's another, type of group where everyone's fun and rambunctious and loud, and then you would kind of match yourself to that. So I'm seeing here that the advice here is to, yes, kind of learn to switch back and forth between the two, not the two faces, that sounds kind of negative, but more like two modes, or different modes, depending on where you are. And once again, this may not be like reserved versus loud groups. It could be anything. But really, I think the key takeaway here is that that's something that's really going to help you thrive in your life or in your career. And then we have the 4 of Cups. So I'm seeing here that, yes, you may naturally not be the type of person who likes doing this. Like you may just kind of be like, well, I'm going to be myself and that's it. But I'm seeing here that you're really going to benefit. Almost to the point where if you don't do this, you're really not going to benefit. So yeah, just really definitely maybe try to like hone yourself to be able to switch sort of modes of being when you're in different groups or different situations. So let's look at the next phase of cards to see if we could shed some more insight here. So how can group 1 be more successful? So I'm seeing here that in conjunction with the other cards, or even just individually, I'm seeing that you may benefit from, even if you do, switch modes, go back and forth, in terms of your personality, depending on the situation or group that you're in, I think you're really going to benefit from ultimately holding your family really close. So, or the people that you grew up with in childhood, or your fatherly figures in your life, motherly figures in your life, just in your family, like once you get married. So these cards together usually mean like union between a man and a woman. So once you get married, like your partner, like somebody, only people you can really trust that you either grew up with, really you hold close, like family, like real close family, make sure that you really depend on them for emotional and sort of support when it comes to like advice, even though you do, once again, are like a chameleon in your professional circles and in your networking circles, when it comes to business and things like that. But really, on the flip side, with your family and people that you really hold close, grew up with, hold dearly to you, really hold them close and really, you can depend on them emotionally, for support and advice. So that's what I'm getting here. So let's look at the last phase of cards to see if maybe we can shed some even more advice on, so how can group 1 reach success? So I'm seeing here that you should really, yes, once again, utilize, like if you have a really close motherly figure in your life, or it could even be not somebody necessarily related to you, but I think this is kind of indicating either if you're a man, if you have a wife, somebody who's like a motherly figure. It could be, I mean, not that your wife is a motherly figure to you, but I mean, like if your wife has children, then she's obviously going to be a motherly figure, or your future wife, or your own mother, or your grandmother. Somebody, a lot of Empress energy here, someone who's like a matriarch type of person. Really rely on this person for advice, for emotional support. If you have any questions that are really, and you need like moral support, I think this is the person to go to, and they're really going to give you some really great advice here. So listen. And then here we have authority. So just make sure that, when you are in that, once again, that business environment where you have to switch back and forth between different modes of being like a chameleon, in different situations, depending on which kind of groups or networking groups you're in, make sure to heed authority. So make sure that you be careful not to come across as like you're stepping over authority or going around authority. Definitely make sure to look as if you are obeying, and definitely obey, and also just make sure to present yourself as someone who is respectful of authority and discerning of authority. And then here we have judgment. So yeah, as long as you really are follow the rules, like ethical rules especially, and really follow authority, and even if you are switching modes, once again, like a chameleon, depending on what kind of people you're around and what kind of situation you're in, it's really going to help to just really make sure to heed rules, like rule following laws, and just make sure that you are being ethical and legally you're doing the right thing, and you will be successful. And make sure you listen to the advice of that motherly figure in your life, whoever that may be, and hold your family very, very close to you, like the people that you really trust, that you grew up with, that you know that you can really hold close, hold dearly to you. So that was the reading for group 1, the green mask or the emerald mask group. So like, comment, subscribe, share if this resonated with you. And once again, I want to remind you that I have an Etsy page now where you can get personal email readings from me. And the link to that Etsy page is in the description box below. So I'm going to, without further ado, move on to the second group. So we have the second group here, the purple, violet-ish, or magenta-ish. It's more like a magenta colored mask. And so let's see what we have for you guys. So how will group 2, or the magenta mask group, how will they reach success? Okay, so here I'm seeing that, okay, so we have the Knight of Swords. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have the 6 of Cups, and then we have the 2 of Cups. So I'm ultimately seeing here that you are going to have to be, you're going to have to be a bit competitive. You will have to be careful. Don't trust everyone. Be a little careful. Be careful who you trust. Knight of Swords energy. Really, this kind of pertains to the previous group as well, but 6 of Cups indicates like nostalgia, like so people that you grew up with, that you know that you can trust them, but really be careful of who you can trust. Otherwise, like people that you don't really know very well. I mean, I'm not saying like completely, don't trust anyone at all, but what I am saying is that be more cautious before you let your guard down. So this is the Knight of Swords once again. He's holding a sword and a shield, kind of defensive energy, but I'm seeing here that maybe that will help you guard you against people who maybe not have your best interest at heart. But once again, there are positive people out there, like people that you either grew up with or people that you know that you can hold close to you, that you trust, or people who remind you of those people that you grew up with or people you can trust in your life. You can trust them. But here I'm saying just be cautious of who you trust. And the people that you can really trust, I'm seeing here that they're going to have importance in your life. So trust them for sure. But people that you don't know very well, who just make sure that you do hold that shield and sword in hand before you let your guard down, basically. And I'm seeing here Two of Cups is usually emotional partnerships. This usually means marriage, relationships of the heart. I'm seeing here that maybe there is going to be a pretty significant influence in the person that you marry or that you're in a relationship with. They're somehow going to be a catalyst for your success. So in order to reach success, I see that they might be an important presence in your life. Let's see with the next phase of cards if we can shed some more depth. So how can group 2, the purple mask group or the magenta mask group, how can they reach success? Can you shed some more depth? Okay, so we have the dog, we have the scythe, and then we have commerce. So we have like a place of commerce, business, like a market or like a bazaar. So what I'm seeing here is that in conjunction with the previous cards, I'm seeing that, yes, only, so this is the dog. So it's definitely not saying don't trust anyone, but it is definitely saying to trust only the people that are loyal. Be loyal to the people that you know are going to be loyal back. And until you know that, hold the shield and sword in hand before you let your guard down. And then you can really trust them, like a dog, like a loyal dog. Like, that, when you raise a dog, that they're loyal, that they won't stray or that they won't betray you. So that may be an important factor here. And with the scythe, I'm seeing that you may be, even if it's saying trust people that you grew up with, that that you hold dear and close to you, I think the scythe is saying that know when to also let go of people that are not very good for you in terms of, not that they're necessarily bad people, that's not what I'm saying, but I think that what this is ultimately saying is that learn to let go of connections or bridges that may not necessarily serve you in the most healthy way, like in terms of enablement, like people who you just notice, basically for an example, like, oh, after I spend a lot of time around, XYZ person, I always feel a little bit drained, or I always end up making poor decisions, or I always end up making some kind of decision that is destructive or just isn't really healthy. Well, those kind of people, I think you should kind of, or even those, not even people, it could even be certain situations that you notice that there's patterns where it leads you to sort of like unhealthy or destructive patterns. Maybe think that through a bit. Think, do I really need them? Or even if you don't necessarily completely cut them out of your life, I think that one thing you might want to consider is, do I want to maybe distance myself a little bit? Like how much is too much when it comes to how much space they are taking up in your life, basically. And then Two of Cups, I'm seeing that in conjunction with this marketplace and commerce card, or bazaar, I'm seeing that the person that you ultimately end up partnering with, whether that be a relationship or some kind of emotional partnership, usually marriage or something like that, they're really going to help, I think, give you either ideas or opportunities or something in that marriage or partnership is going to lead you to opportunities in business and commerce and ultimately some form of prosperity here. But I am kind of getting from this that you really do have to kind of, it is important. I think it was somebody who said, some famous person, I don't remember, but they said that who you marry is ultimately the most important decision for your life, including your career. So yeah, I mean, who you marry or who you end up with apparently impacts your success, your future success, and your career. So yeah, this is actually logic, but in this case, I'm seeing here that whoever you end up with is definitely going to impact your future when it comes to either business or commerce, and they're going to lend you some opportunities here, or maybe through contacts that they know or something. They are going to lead, that partnership will lead you to a prosperous place. So just keep that in mind. And let's look at the last group of cards for group 2 to see if maybe we could shed even more insight here. So how will group 2 reach success? How will group 2 reach success? So yeah, I'm seeing here that partnership that you will end up with, emotional partnership, relationship, marriage, whatever that is, you two are going to enjoy success together, I'm seeing. I think that the relationship will feed the success. But once again, I think it's important to choose the right partnership here, that it will lead to success. Like the relationship dynamic will feed the success will feed the relationship. It's just going to be locked in kind of a healthy way, almost like, but you really have to choose the right one, obviously. But I think, to me, when I think of this, I think of like a symbiotic sort of relationship that is healthy. Like you support each other, you uplift each other, and ultimately you support like each other, not just emotionally, but when it comes to ambitions, you're there for each other, and ultimately you want the best for each other unconditionally. So I think of like almost like the relationship between like the sunlight and like flowers, or water and flowers, like it's something that you might need in your life in order to sort of facilitate this success, in order to push this success along, and they work together, the dynamic. But once again, I do want to remind you that it is very important to choose the right relationship dynamic here. It actually does have a really big impact, I'm seeing, and it will have a big impact on your success, most likely. And then here we have ambition. So I'm seeing here that you are naturally an ambitious person. Success will probably come naturally to you. It's not something that that feels very far, at least in your heart. Like even if it feels far, like in your intuition, I feel like deep down that you are sort of meant for success. And I think that that one day you will reach it, because you are naturally an ambitious person, and it may almost feel like this is just the natural order of things, like success will flow towards you. You may not even have to try as hard as other people. That's kind of the vibe that I'm getting, but not because you're lazy or anything, but because it's just almost naturally embedded in you to be ambitious and to strive. So it's almost like you don't have to make that much effort, because the effort comes naturally to you. The desire to put in the effort, I'm seeing the ambition, the drive, the energy towards that comes a little bit more naturally to you than others. So the motivation basically comes more freely towards you than others. And so here I'm seeing that, so breathlessness, surprise here. So I'm seeing that you will reach success, and it's going to kind of surprise you once you do. It's not going to be, necessarily gradual. I see here that it may be gradual at first, but it definitely will take you by surprise, and it's going to be a happy surprise. And once again, in conjunction with that healthy dynamic, it's really going to help feed that success. It's going to help move it along, almost like a symbiotic relationship, like how the sun and water nurtures a plant or trees or flowers, kind of like that. But yeah, success, once you do reach it, it'll be a very surprising, like a happy surprise, basically. So that seems like a very positive reading. So that's all I have for group 2, the magenta mask group. So like, comment, subscribe, share if this resonated with you. And I just want to remind you again that I now have an Etsy page where you can get personal email readings from me now. And the link to that Etsy page is in the description box below. So without further ado, I'm going to move on to the third group. So we have the red mask group here. So the ruby red mask group. So let's see, how can group 3, How can they reach success? How can the ruby red mask group reach success? Okay, so let's see. We have the 5 of Cups, we have the 9 of Wands, and then we have the 3 of Swords. Okay. So what I'm ultimately seeing here is that you're going to have to leave a situation when it comes to matters of the heart or something personal to you that resulted in some kind of disappointment or loss. It's not going to be, I don't think it will be like a major like debilitating loss, but it is some kind of a loss where you are going to feel hurt. It's going to be sort of an emotional loss. But I'm seeing here that you will push through, you will recover from this loss, from this disappointment, or something along those lines, and you just really need to push through, basically, and I think the message here is that you will get through it, that in order to reach success, I mean, maybe you are going to have to go through some kind of failure or loss at some point. But to be honest, I mean, statistically, just logically speaking, that's actually way more common than most people think. I mean, the most successful people out there, they've failed a gazillion times, but the thing is that they learn from that success. And somebody famous, I don't remember quite who said it, but they said that the most successful people are not necessarily, you don't reach success, like their path wasn't a straight arrow to success. It was usually like they failed multiple times and they learned a lot from their failures. And also, people who fail and are able to recover, they're the ones I think who are really end up being successful people, because ultimately it's not about how successful you can be. I think ultimately it's about how much or how effectively can you recover from failure. Really determines a lot of that. Okay, so let's move on to the second group of cards to maybe shed some more depth. Like, so what is this talking about? Like the previous phase of cards. Let's see if we could shed some more depth. So here we have the fish, we have the cross, and then we have the birds. So I'm seeing here that you are not a stranger to success. Maybe there are people around you, or you've seen it, or you surround yourself with that kind of vibe, or maybe deep in your heart you hold on to this sort of really this dream of reaching that to the point where it's like just completely dominates your mindset almost. But I'm seeing here that yes, the cross means hardship. You will have to maybe face a bit of hardship before you are able to reach success. After the hardship, I'm getting a strong message here. After whatever hardship or quote unquote failure or loss or what have you that you learn from and really push through afterwards, I'm seeing that you should really connect with your network. Talk to people around you, people that you haven't contacted in a while, your old school friends, LinkedIn, go to networking events, talk to your coworkers, former coworkers, talk to your family friends, people that you know through your family, people that you know through your network, friends of friends, you know what I mean, acquaintances. So this card actually represents, talking. So don't be silent. After your failure, you are going to learn something because you're a hard worker. I'm saying that you're a very hard worker, and success is not something that's new to you. You've been holding on to this probably since since you were very young, or maybe you've been surrounded by people who are successful, or you definitely hold that deep in your heart, that desire for success. And so that's how I see that you're a hard worker, and that ultimately after that loss or that hardship or whatever it is, you will learn from it and you will want to talk to people about that. So whatever you learn from your loss or quote unquote failure or whatever that situation is, talk to people about it. Talk to those people in your network, friends of friends, acquaintances, talk to them, and you will learn even more. You'll gather resources, maybe even find new opportunities, and gather new insights that you didn't know. And I know after hardship, after loss, or after some kind of perceived failure, you really find it difficult to go out and really like, or go out of your way, even like on social media, to reach out to people, to reach out to support groups or friends of friends or people in your professional or social network because you're feeling down and depressed after a perceived loss or failure. But I'm seeing here that ultimately the advice is do not be shy. Even if you don't want to, once again, the 9 of Wands represents really pushing through. Push through the disappointment, push through the loss, and ultimately you will move on. And that's how you're going to get one step closer to success, is by really pushing through those hard times when you really don't feel like it. Talk to people once again after that. Talk about what you've learned, what you've lost. Ask for advice. Ask for, allow yourself to be vulnerable when you're talking to them. And also be smart about it. Like if they give you a lead into something, into some new insight, new opportunity, be smart about it. Move fast and really don't let the previous failure or loss keep you down. Try to think about what you learned, the positives. Ultimately, I think try to make lemonade out of lemons, even though it's a cliche, and really talk to people after that situation, even if you don't feel like it. Look for new opportunities through them. But yeah, talk. Communicate with people. Look for people outside of your network even to really just learn from even more and share your experience with them to try to get some insight from them. Okay, so let's move on to the last phase to see if we can get even more insight or advice for you guys for the red mask group. So how can the red mask group reach success? Do you have any more advice or insight? Okay, so yeah, ultimately I'm seeing that yes, the failure, the loss here, that's something that you're just going to have to go through. But once again, let me remind you that the most successful people usually become that way after bouncing back from loss and failure. But the difference between people who aren't successful and who do become successful is that the people who do become successful, they learn to take that loss and then once again take lemons and turn it into lemonade. So they learn from the loss, they become better from the failure, stronger, and ultimately they use that as an opportunity to really push forward, to strive harder, and ultimately become better. And that's how they reach success. So here I'm seeing that, yes, charge ahead. Even if you feel after that loss, after that disappointment, you feel sad, you feel down in the dumps, don't let that get in the way. Here I'm seeing the Chariot. This is a card that's about really being confident, charging ahead, full force. But also there are 2 horses here that symbolizes balance. So make sure, even if you're being confident and charging ahead and talking to people, really doing great things, I'm seeing here to also remember the importance of balance in your life, balance emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually. All of those aspects of your life need to be in balance and aligned in order for you to ultimately reach just the greatest success, basically. Yes, so your best self. Ultimately, do not allow yourself to wallow in that disappointment. Learn from the disappointment, and once again, make lemonade out of lemons, and you will end up in a better situation as long as you really strive, once again, to learn from your networks, learn from people around you who may have had previous experiences that are similar to yours. Really be smart about it. Really try to learn from their experience, learn from what they have to say, that in things you might not even know, you may learn really new sort of insights here. And yeah, you're gonna end up leaving that disappointment. So you look at this card, this rider is riding away from their previous disappointment or loss, that sort of state of being where they just felt like, wallowing, like self-pity, maybe just like disappointment, loss. You're going to leave that situation. But the key is to really be confident, charge ahead, and once again, reach out to people inside of your network, outside of your network, acquaintances, friends of friends, friends of family. Try to learn from their previous experiences, share your experience, people that had the same experience as you, learn how they bounced out of that and ultimately made their life better and ultimately became successful from learning from their failures here. And you're going to really ride into success because this person's on a horse. They're not even on foot. And they're kind of independent. Like, I think they know that they got this, and that using all of those insights that they've gained and that confidence and not letting themselves wallow in pity and self-doubt just because of a disappointment. Everybody goes through disappointments and losses. And ultimately, once again, the most successful people out there, they're the ones who bounce back from failure. Not necessarily the people who've always had a straight arrow road to success. That's not the people who end up the most successful. It's usually the ones who learn from their failure and ultimately use that as like a catapult or a catalyst to really push themselves into striving towards success, learning from people that they've never talked to or even thought about talking to before, or even new mindsets that you've never even considered. Riding out into success. So this is all I have for group 3, the red mask group. Comment, subscribe, share if this resonated with you. And I just want to remind you again that I now have an Etsy page where you can get personal email readings from me. And the link to that Etsy page is in the description box below. So I hope this was helpful. I hope this was interesting and insightful. I hope you guys enjoyed. Bye.